Okay, again, I'm going to make a strong claim here that I'm getting it and you're not. And I'm trying to show you through an internal critique why the way you interpret the Bible is inconsistent. It confuses what things mean. And if you make the Bible this inconsistent, you can make it say almost anything. Okay? Protestants, you can't do that. We believe the Bible's infallible, remember? That means it's self-consistent within its context as a whole. Otherwise, if you can start saying, well, that guy was wrong, and he means it a different way, which is incompatible with the way this guy means it. I'm not talking about totality transfer fallacies, okay? I'm talking about conceptual ideas that are very important, like being alive or dead, being exact opposites, means they can't also mean the same thing at the same time, and mean opposites without a very strong contextual pointer. But that's problematic. I mean, you'd have to make a case to make that work. Okay, so if you argue that Matthew 22 is in fact teaching that Abraham is not dead, but in fact alive, it's already sounding a lot like you agree with the snake. No one really dies, right? Well, they die, but at no point are they stopped being alive, right? What does that even mean? Think about it. Dying doesn't mean stop being alive, but even though Job asks, if a man dies, shall he live again? It sounds like he thinks dead people aren't alive to me. In fact, I think the way the question is phrased actually demands that life and death are not compatible. Remember, there's a resurrection that's really important to the faith, a bodily resurrection. Now, if we start with Jesus, with Christology, Jesus was not alive for 3 days, right? Or is that wrong? Well, he was certainly dead for 3 days, right? And then you're going to tell me, well, his body was dead for 3 days. Well, don't you think he is not his body? The body is a husk. Oh, Jesus shed his flesh suit for your sins. No, the one person who became incarnate, that whole one person died for 3 days, okay? Now, if you say, well, no, yes, Jesus was alive, but he was dead too at the same time, which is ridiculous, by the way. But okay, let's run with that. Jesus being alive in the spirit without his body qualifies as, quote, being dead. Jesus, this is an internal critique of your position, dualist, or however you want to categorize yourself, whatever. The position against my position as an Adventist. Okay, so you say, well, Jesus being dead for 3 days, which would mean spiritually alive in the spirit out of his body, is being dead. Because we all affirm that Jesus was dead for 3 days. So being alive outside of your body for 3 days qualifies as, quote, being dead. Because he rose on the third day. He was dead for 3 days, right? On 3 consecutive days. Unless you want to... See, this is the thing. You have to say that's him being dead for 3 days. And then rising from the dead. From the dead. Right? You have to affirm that if you're a Christian and you believe the scriptures. So Jesus, although on your position is alive as a spirit, that's still being dead, not having a body. You would still say, well, that's being dead is what the true meaning is. Okay, now think about this. Mr. Compartmentalizing your thinking. We go to Matthew 22, and you're going to say Adventists are wrong. God's the God of the living, not the God of the dead. That proves Abraham isn't dead, but alive, silly Adventist. No, it proves that Abraham is dead, and there will be a resurrection from the dead in the future. Why are you arguing that Abraham, being spiritually alive, means he never really died, or that he's not really dead? when you have to define that exact spiritual position as dead in defining what it means for Jesus to be dead for 3 days? Why are you arguing that Matthew 22 is teaching that in fact Abraham is not dead but alive? Now apply that to Jesus. Don't we call that being dead for 3 days when you're alive in the spirit outside of your body? That's what Abraham would be like. The bodily resurrection hasn't happened yet. Why are you insisting that Matthew 22 is teaching that Abraham's not dead? He's alive. He's the God of the living, not the God of the dead. You got yourself into a big problem here, which, when considered honestly, proves that Adventists are right. Sorry to disappoint you.